Man, I'm going to be looking into this a lot.
Don't.
I think I'm going to be doing that.
So, I will place my phone here on this camera.
Mm-hmm.
There's a timer, so yeah, you've got about 20 minutes. If you need a little longer, it's okay.
Okay. Perfectly fine.
So everything fine? Luis, lost it? Yeah. Okay. Okay. Action.
Hey, so imagine this. Your website is a peaceful village where people come, users arrive, drink coffee, click around, and then suddenly there's this wild analytics script that shows up, okay? And the script appears and freezes everything. It's like someone put a fax machine in a silent yoga retreat.
Well, today we're going to talk about how to address those wild analytics scripts and to move them out of the main square and into the Partytown.
Ooh, Partytown.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, welcome to our podcast. I'm Nishu Goyal. I'm a software engineer and a Google developer expert in web performance.
And hey, I'm Julian. I'm also a web performance engineer, working in the field for over 10 years. And yeah, today we are going to break down how you can party like it's 1999 in your browser and improve your core web vitals on the go.
Okay, Partytown it is then. Welcome to that town and let's dive in. I'm going to start by talking about INP, right? Like, I think that's one of the most important core web vitals that everyone's been talking about and has been helping people a lot, apparently.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so core web vitals in general, right? It's a subset of web vitals which are helping you assess the interaction of your website, and INP is one of those. You have other web vitals as well, or core web vitals as well, like large contentful paint, also call it LCP. There's cumulative layout shift, which is CLS. This is mostly about if you're trying to interact with a button on your website, and there's this layout shift that can be super annoying, right? When you're trying to click on something and then that moves a little bit. And yeah, if you're measuring that, that's actually CLS. To also describe what LCP is, in short, is the largest, how do you put it? If it's the largest...
Piece of content that the user initially sees when he enters your page. Like,
Yeah.
you imagine you go on a shop, you want to buy new shoes, and yeah, you hit the Google search or ask ChatGPT for a link, and you go on the web page, and LCP would tell you when the largest piece of content arrives on your screen, and typically this is measuring the perceived loading speed, because when you as a user see the biggest piece of content, typically a hero image, a banner or whatever, arrives, then you know, okay, something has loaded and I can stick around here and wait until the rest is here.
Yeah. Or is it the longest time that it took for the last element to appear on your website?
No, the largest.
Largest, okay. Yeah, that makes sense also from the name. And then we have INP, the interaction to next paint. This is fairly recent core web vital. And this loads or measures, as the name says, the interaction to next paint when you interact with your website. Let's say an input in the form of a tap, click. It's the pointer events as well, right? Pointer up, pointer down, all of those. And you interact with those, and then until the time the website responds to that click, that user interaction, that's basically INP. And there's different ways to measure it, and there's also, I think the flow of it is first starting with the input delay, then you have the processing time that it takes with those actual interactions that you did, which is probably click, tap, and again the pointer. And then there's finally the presentation or the rendering of the stuff that you expect from the website, which is also known as presentation delay. And it's basically like you're clicking a button, right? And you stare at it like, you okay, bro? What's up? What's going on, right? And then that's INP, right? That's how long you wait before the site shows you any sign of something happening.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. Can you also tell me why is this even important? Like, why do we care about those?
I think Google cares for it, no?
Really, Google cares about it.
Well,
Okay, so we do it for Google now?
Exactly.
Okay.
Well, that's more on the fun side, but I guess that's what improves your rankings in general, and you want to measure something to be able to actually improve it, right? They also say that the first step to improving something is actually measuring it. And I guess INP really helps there, or any Web Vital for that matter helps there. It's also a real responsiveness measure. You know, I used to make this joke all the time that FID, which was the previous Core Web Vital, was the one which used to make me super happy because it was always good numbers, good score, and I'd be like, okay, my website's doing good. But that was not reality, right? And now INP shows you the real stuff. So welcome to the real world. There's no synthetic performance, and it's the real world out there. Yeah, what would you say? How would you perceive it?
Well, I mean, it's for INP, you explained it pretty well, I guess. And for the whole Core Web Vitals, I would just add there are a lot of studies that also show the correlation of bad Web Vitals to a drop-off in users, or vice versa. Like that, for example, pages with Shopify that improved LCP by 30%, like also got a retention increase, right?
Yeah.
So people will just more likely stick around at your page instead of all the competitors. And essentially, it's really competing against your competitors in terms of performance. Also, what I would tell about the Core Web Vitals is it's very easy to achieve the current set of measurements. You do not have to put any additional effort on that because all of them are essentially available on the Crux dashboard.
Yeah.
So if you just go there, you can check the historical data of your own web page, but not only from your own web page, you can also check competitors. And I think that's a very critical thing to do when you are in the field, to see how your competitors behave.
It's also a public disrespect in general if your INP is not doing good. So it's like a mandate that you have to do it.
Yes.
I guess that's why everyone jumps on the wagon as soon as there's this new Web Vital and they're like, okay, we have to improve this because then otherwise, I don't know, there's also this ranking, right? That your website's not good in general and I don't know, users wouldn't want to land on it so much because the score of the website is not so good. Even if they don't know, maybe the score not being so good, I guess it shows in just the interaction time and so on. But yeah, talking about Core Web Vitals in general, what more would you add to, the specific topic?
Well, the Core Web Vitals in general, I'm so happy about as a performance engineer about them. I mean, it's a living standard. It's as we have seen, INP is new to the party. So it could potentially be possible that in a year or so we have different Core Web Vitals.
Yeah.
But what they really try to do is express actual user experience in numbers that we as engineers can rely on, can improve them, and be sure that we also improve the user experience. Of course, there are like ways, that's maybe a good addition. There are ways to hack around them. For example, for LCP, what you could do is just place a big banner as a static image to your first load phase of your app, and that would make LCP really fast. But working around the metric and just hacking it is not a good thing to do because then you end up in a situation where you have a total blind flight. You have no idea what you actually decrease in your actual LCP because you have artificially improved it. So
and it's not the real picture anyway. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
You're
I mean,
just doing it for the ranking, I guess.
It's like if you work for clients in as a consultant and management is just focusing on give me good metrics, then they are really up to do that. But I would always try to argument against that. That's just not a good idea.
I want to follow on that because that was actually my next question. That because you're a performance consultant, right, and you have a lot of these customers coming in. I'm actually curious how many of them are actually aware of Core Web Vitals. Do they just come to you and say that, hey, fix our performance? Or do they actually say that, hey, you know what, our Core Web Vitals are not doing good and we want to help that?
It's a tricky question. Some of them are aware about the current set of Core Web Vitals, and that is the reason why they come to us to help us fix them. For others, it's just they feel something is wrong. Maybe they get even bad user feedback on social media or just bad reputation. For example, one client that we are working on, there is a rating agency that rates them and other competitors in the field and provides reports. And if they say, hey, the application is performing slow, then this is already a good sign to take a look at that. But sometimes they are aware. Sometimes we need to teach them. But it's, as you said, it's embracing a culture in the company for that, to measure it, to act against it, to be aware, and to build it into your development process in general, I'd say.
You mentioned Partytown earlier. Let's talk about that. I mean, I think I do understand most of it, or correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't it a tool that helps you load or offload scripts, mostly third-party scripts, to a web worker so that your main thread is not as bloated, let's say, or is not so full of stuff to do? Would that be how you'd put it as well?
That's essentially the outline of what it does. So just to give a reference back about what we are talking. So we uncovered all the core web vitals until now.
Yeah.
And if we now go back to Partytown, we are essentially at that situation that you described in the beginning. You click a button and you ask it, "Hey, bro, everything everything good here? Can you please respond to my interaction?" And yeah, this is where Partytown really can help, because what we have experienced also in the field, in many applications, especially public-facing ones, that a lot of, as you also said, tracking scripts are just running with your application in parallel. And as the JavaScript ecosystem is fully single-threaded, you have absolutely no control of what is running before the other. You cannot do anything in real concurrent mode. That's just not possible, because there is no concept of concurrency built into JavaScript. And this is where Partytown is coming into play. By using a web worker, the browser can really open up a new thread and can work off stuff on a different thread without intervening with user interactions.
So in layman terms, can I say it's like giving, your noisy neighbors their own soundproof party, which then, helps everyone else?
Essentially, that's how you can describe it.
Right.
Yeah, it's really like you define as a developer what kind of stuff do I not need running on my UI thread, because that's where typically the application layer should live, right? So the code that we write in order to build UIs, in order to ask the backend for data, or like create a new pop-up menu, do soft navigations within our applications. This is what we want to get executed.
Yeah,
and the noisy neighbors would be
then living somewhere separately, happily, right?
Yeah,
and then I
exactly.
guess it also helps that you okay bro button, because now it gets that space on the main thread, which is a bit freer right now.
Yeah, exactly.
But I guess the main thread's also still communicating with the web worker the whole time. So it's still busy with that communication. It's just that it's not still holding all of that stuff. Maybe you want to talk about it later when we go into the technical details of it, but that comes into picture, isn't it?
That comes definitely into picture.
Yeah.
I think we already also explained partially why this is helping with the whole INP story. Because we already discussed that INP is measuring interaction speed, and JavaScript is single-threaded, and web workers give us the possibility to do kinda concurrency.
Yeah.
But as you already mentioned, there has to be some form of communication layer. That's always the case. If you do something in concurrency, you have to sync it up at some point.
And INP's main problem has always, or most of the times, been the main thread being blocked. And this is exactly what Partytown wants to fix, in a way, which would make sense that, hey, if you switch to Partytown, your INP gets improved. I mean, now I put it super simply, but I guess that's one of the things that people are doing a lot lately, or would you disagree?
That is what people are doing, yes.
Yeah, you also might have some examples of those from your...
with the Partytown integration.
Yeah.
We have a lot of examples with that.
Let's come to those.
Yeah, definitely. I have a small demo prepared afterwards where we can show it off quickly.
Yeah. Third parties. For example, on our app, we have Datadog, Google Tag Manager. I think that's the most common
Yeah, GTM is one.
Yeah. So would it also work on Datadog, I'm guessing?
Yeah, it should. You can just try it out.
Yeah.
By default, it might just crash because of the communication issues between main thread and web worker. So everything that is just not plain default needs to be configured on top of Partytown. So this is what you typically have to take care of. So it's really not like you just put it on your page and you can be happy about that. That's not how it works. Like, there has to be someone taking care of checking if all the integrations are still working. And if we, for example, talk about GTM, which is just an entry portal for everything that you have no control over, because it's like someone from the marketing department decides to put yet another action, yet another script, yet another trigger into GTM. You just don't know about that.
Yeah. And I would want to add one point. So we've been talking about bad INP, good INP, and all of that, but we never explained what a bad INP really is, right? So just from the numbers, anything below 200 below 200 milliseconds is a good INP, I guess. And then from 200 milliseconds to 500 is an average INP, which I've not seen until now happening a lot. And then there's bad INP, which is more than 500 milliseconds.
Yeah.
I've not seen a lot of green yet, to be honest, in my website.
Yeah, it's not only personal perception on this end, because with the switch from FID to INP, we could also tell by statistics that less than 50% of all mobile experiences in the web are not hitting green INP values.
Yeah.
So it's like more than half of the world has actual bad scores in INP on any given web page.
Yeah.
And this is kind of crazy. And it also, by statistics, we can tell the majority of those issues are not coming from any framework that is broken or any application code that is broken. Of course, that can be the cause, but it's like mainly really the third-party scripts that are injected into random applications. Yeah.
It's funny how, I don't know if you know, but there's this Web Almanac edition going on that happens every year, and you kind of measure all of those statistics, right? And the same thing was super skewed when INP was introduced, because now you had different results, right? Until there was FID and you were measuring how things are, how rankings are for every website and so on. It looked very different. So it was super interesting, I guess, 2 years ago, or when exactly was INP? 2023.
March 2023. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, interesting. I think let's actually talk about how to integrate Partytown.
Yeah,
Show,
please.
don't tell, right? Yeah.
I know that you have a bit of experience in that because you tried it out on your own.
Very recently,
Yeah.
People around me, you included, have been motivating me to try that out on a micro frontend that we've been doing, and it's mostly React MFEs that we are using, but there's also a Svelte MFE, which is like a super light one, and that doesn't fall into picture much. But the idea was that we have this container application, which contains an EJS file, and it's a simple HTML in there. And I tried to first of all add the Partytown script. You could also choose to install it from npm, but I simply added the script of the Partytown JS, of course, and then I wanted to do it for Datadog and GTM, right? And then I think you add the type as text Partytown to those scripts, and I guess it's already considered for being used as a Partytown or like a third to be sent to the web worker, basically. That was the second thing that I did. I guess the first very important thing is the script, Partytown.js. Then the second step, and correct me if I'm wrong, the second step is actually adding text Partytown to the script that you need to offload to a web worker. And then there's also some configuration, right? So there's this script type Partytown, or maybe not type, but then you add configuration options in there, debug, for example, and what else?
Yeah, this is just the place where you configure Partytown itself. You just have a global object that says Partytown equals, and you give it options. You can put it into debug mode. You tell it where the library is coming from, and specifically, that's the main part that you are doing there. Is you configure the communication layer between main thread and web worker. We will see that in action in a bit. Because, all APIs, for example, if we just take GTM, for an example, it has this magic function that is just data layer.push, for example. And whenever this happens and you call data layer.push, it is patched by the GTM script and it will dispatch the event to GTM. But now that GTM lives in the web worker, because we told it to please live there, we don't want you on the main thread, it has no idea about data layer anymore. It has no idea about data layer.push events that come from the main thread, because this is not a standard. So we have to tell Partytown then specifically, hey, data layer.push, this is a function. Whenever you receive it from the main thread, just forward it to the worker and let it receive it.
So right now, if you don't do that, without that, it would just not communicate it correctly to the web worker.
Yeah, then your tracking would just be dead.
Okay, it would just not work then.
Yeah.
It's funny, I was using Cursor while doing that, and because I added it to Datadog as well, it just adds those DD init and DD log also, as I think it's just one of the methods, just like data layer.push for GTM, but these were for Datadog. So I don't know if Cursor was hallucinating there or it was true, but
I'm not sure.
Datadog still works, but it's not in production. So I'll wait.
Yeah, maybe it used the wrong configuration because there are so many of them. This is really a matter of you have to dig into the documentation and figure out what you need to do. You need to be aware of what APIs do you need to patch and in what way.
Yeah, I guess when it actually goes to production and I have it all working, then I come back. Another podcast, okay?
Yeah.
We have more content.
Yes, please. I would be very happy to see those results.
Yeah.
But speaking about integration, as said already, it's not something you slap on your page and you will be happy with the end result. Maybe we uncover a couple of pitfalls that you might run into when you integrate Partytown, because it's not just very straightforward.
Yeah.
So I think the first one we discussed already, it's third parties crash if you don't treat them right, and if you use any non-standard API in that.
But that's a default, isn't it? That you always need to have that communication set up.
Yes.
From the main thread to the web worker.
Yes, exactly. Then there's a lot of magic going on behind the scenes. For example, GTM injects a new script into the DOM. But it doesn't fetch it like with a script source tag. It does an actual fetch request, which results in most cases in some coarse issues, because then you need to come up with a reverse proxy and tell the web worker that, hey, this is actually coming from our domain, and then it starts working again. This is also something very often seen.
Oh, is it because the worker thread doesn't know now the origin of the request?
The worker just fetches the script with an actual fetch request, and this is then what's happening and what's causing the issue. It's coming from a different origin, yeah.
And then you try to show or try to set it up in a way that the web worker would then get it from your own domain.
Exactly.
From your
You have to pretend
origin.
that you are serving all the scripts and
Got
not
it.
some other domain, exactly.
And how do we set that up? Is that another set of configuration that you need to write down?
Yes, this is just another configuration option.
Is it reverse proxying that you were talking to me about the other day, or?
I think the configuration is called resolve URL or something. That's where
Interesting.
things are happening, exactly.
Okay. Yeah, tell me more. I don't know. There was course issue you did talk about already. There's something about the tracking at the end of the session, which then breaks the connection as well.
Yes.
What about that?
Yeah, this is a big pitfall, and it took a while until we understood what's happening. So a web worker is nothing that the browser would wait for to finish its work, right? So imagine you have a shop application, and the last thing that users typically do is hit the buy button and then they leave, right? So you have an app, you open it, you press the buy button, and then you're good and you leave the app.
Yeah.
Whatever is still hanging as a tracking event in the web worker will just stay there forever, and you close the app, the session is gone, and the tracking event is never fired. So this can just happen. So any close to end of session events, you might lose in your tracking data. You need to be aware of that.
Okay.
That might be the case. It doesn't have to, but we experienced it already, and we still are searching for solutions to overcome it.
Wow. Okay.
So this is something you might need to deal with.
Super interesting. Do you want to show a quick 2-minute demo of what you've done? Because I guess otherwise it's just telling and not showing.
Definitely, I do really want that. And while doing that, I will also discuss some numbers, like real-world numbers that we achieved here. Okay. So I would just quickly switch to one of our applications where we implemented Partytown.
Yeah.
So we can see here a sports betting application in mobile mode. In this case, it is sportingbet.bet.br, so it's for the Brazilian market. We could also go to bwin.com or any other product in this area.
Yeah.
The first thing that we can see here is the network tab is full of Partytown requests, and especially whenever I interact with the application, I think now I screwed up the thing here. Let me
Partytown is the
refresh
communication
that. Yes.
API.
Partytown, that's what you see here, all the Partytown requests. So whenever main thread wants to communicate to worker thread, or vice versa, there's a layer in between running through a service worker. So a lot of worker stuff here, web worker, service worker, main thread. They communicate, like web worker and main thread communicate via a service worker that intercepts this request. And this is quite an interesting concept because this is the communication there. Whenever web worker accesses main thread, it has to do that.
Got it.
But let's take a quick look at how this looks like in the performance panel, right? So I would just run a small performance profile. Let me interact a bit with the page here. So whenever I interact here, a tracking script is running. In this case, something in GTM. So I interacted a bit with my application here now. I'm waiting for the profile to actually load.
Okay.
And there we go. Here we are at our main thread, which looks beautifully clean, like really not much is going on.
So the worker thread's probably having a lot of long tasks now?
Exactly, and this is so misleading here. In the overview, you see that it looks like the whole thing was blocked for the entire time, but it's not the main thread that is blocked at this point. It is actually living here in the worker thread of Partytown, and here you can tell this worker had a lot of stuff to process. So some tasks take over a second here. And it's not like that it's the amount of work that it has to do, but it's the amount of communication back and forth from web worker to main thread. And this is also the reason why sometimes events just hang longer than they actually should because of the communication overhead that you see.
Super interesting. I think to conclude it, I'd just say it's like kicking one heavy person off of a seesaw, and then suddenly everything is balanced.
It is kind of like that. And just to give an impression of how much it affected this exact application that I'm showing here, we re-enabled Partytown after a big refactoring 2 weeks ago, and after re-enabling it, we could see a drop in the 75th percentile of INP about 1 second. So we dropped it by 80% for this application, but just using Partytown. I mean, you also have to be aware about the audience. In this case, it's in the Brazilian market, a lot of mobile devices. So of course, they have slow devices. They suffer a lot when the main thread is full. And in this case, we could really see 80% improvement in INP. So I guess even if it's kind of a hassle to set it up, in the end, it's so much worth it. That's the conclusion I would say.
Insane though, the results. I'm very excited to do it on my own. The micro frontend that I was talking about, and then come back with another podcast actually talking about it. Thank you very much. It was amazing, Julian, talking about the topic and how you did it with Partytown, and the 75th percentile, for example, just looks amazing. So,
Thank you, Nishu. I had a blast. I hope everyone learned something new and you get interested into Partytown. If you want to learn more about it, you should just reach out.
Thank you.
Great.
Did it go, 28? 29 minutes, okay.